A casual brush against a leafy green plant, then an instant, burning shock. Look closely at the stem of a stinging nettle, and you'll see tiny, translucent hairs called trichomes. These are microscopic, glass-like hypodermic needles made of silica. When skin brushes against them, the fragile tip shatters. The jagged edge pierces the epidermis and pumps in a cocktail of chemicals, primarily histamine and formic acid, the same acid found in ant venom. This is an intentional biological security system. The plant expends a massive amount of energy to build and arm millions of these needles, simply to keep predators away. Because that defense mechanism is so effective on humans, modern society categorized the nettle as a hostile weed. For generations, the standard response has been to destroy it on site. Farmers clear it with heavy machinery. Municipalities douse it in herbicides to keep it off footpaths. But building a fortress requires resources. From an evolutionary perspective, a plant doesn't invest this heavily in armor unless it has something of immense value to protect. Treating the stinging nettle exclusively as a pest ignores the biology underneath the sting. If we only look at the armor, we miss the payload. This bar chart compares the macronutrient density of dried nettle against standard leafy greens. Inside those armored leaves is one of the most nutrient-dense wild plants on Earth. When dried, nettle is 30% protein by weight, far exceeding spinach or lettuce. Looking at micronutrients on this same chart, it reveals a natural multivitamin. The leaves hold dense concentrations of calcium, iron, and vitamins A, C, and K. Accessing this nutrition requires a simple biological bypass. The silicon needles are fragile. Boiling, steaming, or thoroughly drying the leaves completely disarms the trichomes, neutralizing the sting so the plant can be eaten safely. Mastering that neutralization process meant the difference between starvation and survival for populations facing long winters. The first spring flush of nettle provided a critical surge of vitamin C to prevent scurvy and iron to treat anemia. The chemistry responsible for the skin's allergic reaction is also what makes the plant a tool against seasonal allergies. Nettle leaves are packed with quercetin, a plant pigment that stabilizes mast cells and reduces the body's release of histamine during hay fever season. Below ground, the roots contain phytosterols and lignans, compounds that interact with human hormones. Today, clinical trials show that nettle root extract effectively reduces the symptoms of benign prostatic hyperplasia in men. Even the sting itself has a medical application. For centuries, people practicing urtication would intentionally strike their arthritic joints with fresh nettles. The localized sting triggers a rush of blood flow and depletes pain neurotransmitters, which can reduce joint inflammation. What ancient healers figured out through trial and error, modern pharmacology is now validating under microscopes. The nettle's intense chemistry makes it a highly active medical agent. This concentration of nutrients starts in the soil. Nettle operates as a dynamic accumulator. Its root system actively pumps trapped nitrogen and heavy minerals out of degraded, disturbed ground and stores them directly in its foliage. Because it hoards so much nitrogen, the plant becomes an exclusive, high-octane fuel source. Several species of butterfly rely entirely on nettle patches to lay their eggs, as it is the only food dense enough to sustain their caterpillars. Those larvae mature into adult pollinators, like this red admiral. By tolerating a patch of stinging weeds, an ecosystem maintains a baseline population of butterflies, which then go on to pollinate the surrounding landscape. Farmers observed this same nutritional transfer in their livestock. When dried nettle is mixed into animal feed, the high protein and mineral content boosts the butterfat in cow's milk and produces nutrient-dense yolks in chicken eggs. The nettle functions as a biological engine. It pulls trapped nutrients from the earth, processes them, and pushes them upward to feed insects, animals, and eventually humans. Now, modern regenerative agriculture is recognizing this engine. Instead of eradicating the nettle, a new wave of farmers is actively cultivating it. By soaking chopped nettles in water, they create fermented plant juice. This extracts the plant's nitrogen and minerals, creating a potent liquid fertilizer without a single synthetic chemical input. When fresh nettle biomass is added to a compost pile, its high moisture and nitrogen levels act as a natural activator, accelerating the breakdown of surrounding organic matter. A plant defined by its hostility is now being used to heal degraded farmland. It has transitioned from a targeted enemy to a foundational tool for sustainable growing. Across the globe, from the Pacific Northwest to the Himalayas, communities are working to restore a sacred relationship with the land, a process often called rematriation. Indigenous groups and herbalists are recovering the traditional knowledge that was lost when we started viewing nature strictly as something to pave over or poison. Part of that recovery involves reviving material crafts that predated global cotton markets. Many cultures once relied on the incredible tensile strength of nettle stem fibers to weave the cordage and fishing nets that sustained their civilizations. There is an Old English idiom, to grasp the nettle. It means to face a difficult problem boldly. If you brush lightly against the plant, it stings you, but if you grab it firmly, crushing the protective hairs before they can pierce your skin, you walk away unharmed. The nettle demands respect. By approaching nature's harsh edges with curiosity, the very tools that once caused us pain become the primary resources for our healing.